Hello and welcome. Welcome to the webinar, the BlockStart webinar about application of NFTs on non-fungible tokens beyond art and collectibles. My name is Vytautas Černiauskas. I am expert at Civita. And Civita is one of the project partners of BlockStart program, together with Bright Pixel and F6S. And BlockStart is a European Union financed program which has a goal of facilitating development and commercial uptake of blockchain-based solutions, and also helping and fostering the collaboration between developers of blockchain solutions and SMEs and SME adopters, as we call them, throughout Europe. And today we're going to have a very nice discussion. Well, first 5 presentations from our guests that I will present shortly. And after that, we will have a Q&A session / discussion where we'll discuss the exciting world of NFTs from different angles. Hopefully we will learn more about what NFTs are, how they are applied, and also what is the future for NFTs. So feel free to ask questions in the comment section. And before I give the word to our first speaker today, I would encourage you to fill in a participant survey in the comments, and that would help us know better who you are, which organizations you represent, and help us know you better. So without further ado, I want to give floor to the first presenter today. Presentation about NFTs, Richard Crook. He's the director at Lab 577. It's a software company creating applications on blockchain and probably other emerging technologies for the financial services industry. Richard, the floor is yours. Please go ahead and tell us more about yourself, Lab 577, and also NFTs, of course.
Thank you. So it's Richard Crook, great to be here. Thankfully, I get to speak first, but I certainly won't get the last word. So for today, as been introduced, Richard Crook for Lab 577, we sit in the nexus of financial services and emerging tech. If we just start with the first slide, not the last, just get the first slide on the screen. This is the last one. Did you just want to go to the top one? Yeah, there we go. So you'll have all seen an explosion and probably read or heard around NFTs. I've just got a few minutes to just to open up the floor and give you a bit of context on this. For some of the audience, this is absolutely new. You joined this to understand and get an overview of NFTs. Others know about NFTs and want to know more. So bear with me as I just open the floor up and bring everybody up to speed. And then actually there's some really good speakers coming up later in the session that will go into some great detail. But what I wanted to do was just step back and introduce you to NFTs, give you a little bit of the history to make sure that you're not being lost behind. The NFT, or non-fungible token, is an offshoot from the cryptocurrencies explosion, where the cryptocurrencies are fungible. They're like coins. You don't really care which coin you get back from the shopkeeper. They're fungible. Immediately became obvious to the engineers you could create non-fungible ones, tokens that are actually meaningful as a unique token, not the fungible tokens you'd expect to find in a casino, which you don't care which token the dealer gives back to you. And that has given us the opportunity to create unique, non-interchangeable units of data, again, using a distributed ledger or blockchain, which is why these are always interlinked. It's well worth recognizing that just like cryptocurrencies, you don't actually hold the tokens. You simply hold a reference on the ledger to the token. Then NFTs involving things like digital art, which you can see here on this first slide, you're not actually storing the file on the ledger. The token functions in a way more similar to a certificate of ownership, where you are being pointed at that certificate, and that token represents the certificate of ownership of the piece of art, not the actual art itself. That there is a level of criticism there in around the NFT space, but it's no different to the art that's hanging on the museum and the certificate that you own that tells you that the piece of art that you have hanging on the wall is actually the original piece. And I think that's where it's been really exciting. Now, the first slide I gave you here is to really show some of the stats that are coming out of here. And actually, you can see some of these stats on many of the NFT websites that are out there. Probably the most famous top sell of NFTs was earlier this year, where a CryptoPunk, a piece of art, digital art, was sold for $7.5 million. And you can see that CryptoPunks is quite a popular one, but Art Blocks is another. And actually, this was the exuberance of the early 2021, which is probably why this is a popular subject right now. If we drop to the next slide, we haven't just see this one come up. And actually, NFTs have been around for a while. Are we going to get the next slide, please? Not entirely sure how to ask. So the reason that the next slide is interesting as that comes up to show is that actually we go all the way back to kind of the origins of Bitcoin. We always start with Bitcoin. It's the start of all of this, but it didn't take people long to realize that actually a single currency ledger wasn't what you needed. So they created Counterparty, which created multi-currency. And very quickly after that, people identified that actually you could use these tokens, not just for a currency, a unit of value, you could use them inside games, which have always had units of value in terms of the resources that the player holds, be them coins or land. And actually, this was actually shown at DevCon 1 of Ethereum way back in 2015. And actually, the gaming use case then immediately became art, where we saw back in 2016 the creation of some internet art that was then attached to tokens and sold. And that's kind of right back in 2016, so it's a long time ago. CryptoPunks has actually been around for a while. Back in 2017, CryptoKitties was the one that caught the imagination and slowed the Ethereum network down with the volume of trading back in 2018. And probably the biggest platform and marketplace is OpenSea, actually started in 2018. And that's quite a long time ago in the crypto space. It's only in the recent 8 months that actually we've seen a real rapid rise in the fashion for creating NFTs, and actually the explosion in the value of them, which obviously creates a feedback loop as people then create a frenzy towards these NFTs. But it is an obvious financial instrument that can be used associated with a piece of art, with a piece of game, or any non-fungible digital asset. And all I'm showing here is that this has been around for a while, it's been tested, and now it is rapidly rising. If we just go to that last slide, there is now a growing ecosystem. This slide will not do it any favors. I think the block did a great job of putting this together, but this is undoubtedly out of date. But it is worthy, from your perspective, of understanding that there are a number of different sections to the ecosystem. There are the marketplaces like OpenSea. They've been rapidly joined by a whole host of other marketplaces. The infrastructure underneath, many of you will be using MetaMask already, but the wallet providers and the capability underneath that is all now building out. And then actually the real space that's really where it's exploding is actually into the games and collectibles, and obviously into the art space as well. But that's a rip-roaring ride through NFTs. And from my perspective, you've heard from Richard Crook at Lab 577. I look forward to the rest of the speakers.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard, for the presentation. It was sweet and short. I have a question. Well, actually, there's a question from the audience, so probably I don't want to turn this all into discussion. We will go there a bit later, but still, there was a question about crypto kitties. Obviously, people still remember that 3 years in. Are they still alive? What's going on in there? Do you know?
The crypto kitties, well,
yeah,
as I said, things like Cyberpunks has been around for a while. Crypto kitties are still rolling around. Interestingly, that game that was carved up and the land inside the game that was demonstrated at DevCon 1 way back in 2015 sat idle for years until actually for half a decade, until actually the exuberance around NFTs drove the price and there was a bidding frenzy around it. So these things can go on for a while. They can rise and fall in terms of dormancy and excitement. I think just like any piece of art, actually time is your biggest winner, because there is only a finite amount of that art. And if the artist becomes popular, then very rapidly the price goes up.
Okay, thank you. Really looking forward to the discussion we do later. Thanks a lot, Richard. And now we're moving to the next presenter in our webinar. Evelyn Mora, founder and CEO of Digital Village. And Digital Village is a social metaverse, another buzzword along the NFTs in our webinar today. And it is a community-led blockchain interface prioritizing social and digital sustainability. I'm really looking forward to explaining what this social and digital sustainability is, how it looks like in a metaverse space. Evelyn, please, the floor is yours.
Hey everyone, thank you so much. Richard, that was so fantastic. You need to intro me in from now on in every presentation that I do. helps set the tone for what I'm going to talk about. So here we go. Digital Village, social metaverse. This is me, or my second self, my avatar that lives in Digital Village. And I'm Evelyn Mora, as I was introduced before. Digital Village was born from actually challenges around NFTs, how we can scale NFTs, how can we have NFTs and blockchain be adapted by the masses. So a lot of challenges, as I come from fashion background and sustainability, and as Richard mentioned about fashion and NFTs, obviously fashion is a creative industry, and the opportunity and possibility that NFTs offer is great and fantastic. Although it comes with a lot of challenges like utility. I will go deeper to that in a second, but not going too deep on the sustainability part of digital and physical worlds and its connection, actually. I will tell you a little bit about Digital Village. So we aim to really create seamless access for our users, or actually activists. I call users activists because I don't think user is a right word anymore. I feel like we have to actually really upgrade our vocabulary when it comes to the new Web3 opportunities and spaces. But essentially, we want to give people easy access to this new virtual lifestyle and economy. And as much as NFTs have been hyped, you don't actually get to necessarily use them, and it's still very difficult space for regular people to enter. So with Digital Village, we're trying to solve that. So user or activist, I feel like even just like the word consumer, the word user doesn't necessarily give the credit for these people that are spending so much time in this digital platform. So actually yesterday I just came up with this thought, and I shared it through our Discord channel, and it started a lot of confusion actually, which I love, because we have now an opportunity with Web3 to actually redefine words and meanings, and the purpose and role of internet, and the time that we spend online, and how it impacts our physical lives. I'm going to jump through that. So in Digital Village, we have fashion NFTs on the right, as you can see. So we allow our users to sell, buy, and exchange assets and actually then wear them in the metaverse, which is built on Unreal Engine. You really want to give people the ability to understand NFTs, and even if they understand the concept of NFTs, applying NFTs to everyday activities and business models is still a very difficult aspect in the fashion industry, and it's still sort of in the very beginning. And of course, when it comes to NFTs, there is a lot of social and environmental issues around sustainability in particular that we're trying to solve with concepts like crowdfunding, where we allow multiple people to own one NFT and actually back the creator's value that the creator has given to this particular asset. We are going to launch our own coin soon, and we have pretty big plans for it as well. I believe, I mean, I'm super excited about the discussion that we are going to have. There's some really juicy topics that we will be touching upon. And I think that we are still very far away from getting crypto or blockchain adapted by the masses. And the idea of Digital Village Coin is ultimately to foster collective adoption of this new lifestyle that we have created for ourselves, but still are trying to adapt to. So main pain points, my favorite topic around NFTs, especially in fashion, is utility. I feel like NFTs have so much potential. I feel like, yes, you can, have a non-fungible token and it can, you can buy it for a certain price, you can auction it or whatever. But I think that when it comes to the metaverse, so metaverse for me is a spatial environment, you can actually attach value to those NFTs through experiences and usage. So this is for me super exciting. And then there is the trust issue and transparency issue. These are actually super long topics. I think that my slide is a bit too long, but do tell me when I have to stop. But yeah, trust and transparency, blockchain, obviously great tool for that. Consumers don't read blockchain, they don't have technical literacy. They have hard time understanding its concept. And the commercial part, companies who actually use blockchain for two purposes: to create more functional, economically and time-wise more effective supply chains, have hard time actually communicating their sustainability efforts to the end consumer, who's actually the ultimate demander for trust and transparency. All right, so I'm gonna go here. So for us, the solutions are crowdfunding and community backing. So one of the first issues, or actually, I think me and Richard could talk about this for like hours, is what makes that CryptoPunk art $7 million. And then there is some other art piece that is like $50. So I think that the value of these NFTs is a very critical and important topic, because to me, the digital space can be really flourishing and prosperous when it's combined or connected to the physicality, our physical lives, physical business models and products and services in a sustainable way. So obviously, when you sell a Birkin bag that is more expensive than the real Birkin bag, it does have an impact to these huge industries. I mean, fashion industry is one of the biggest industries in the world. So with crowdfunding and community backing, we are trying to really sort of vote almost for the value of the NFT. And by doing that, you become a co-owner of the asset. So the Village Protocol concept is our way of trying to help mass adoption of blockchain to enable to provide real-time understandable data to the people to see and sort of follow and create a supply chain for that particular NFT. All right. I'm going to stop it there because otherwise I'm going to go too deep to different topics.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thanks a lot for the presentation. Thanks a lot for the energy. I know we're running a bit late, but still I want to post one question from the audience to you. This is related to what I said in the beginning about this metaverse buzzword. So the question is, how do you define an ecosystem to be a metaverse? If someone uses NFTs to trade, for example, digital art, for example, is OpenSea a metaverse environment? So this ties back a little bit about how you call digital village and metaverse. So can you respond to this?
That's a great question. I don't think that OpenSea is a metaverse. I think OpenSea is a marketplace. Digital Village has its own marketplace and metaverse. I think a lot of different people, including Mark Zuckerberg, has their own definition of what metaverse means. But essentially, word meta is beyond, and verse is universe. So beyond universe. So I feel like it is our spatial space reality in the Web3, so online. To me, metaverse is a next level of internet. When I started looking into the really sort of low quality, bad algorithms designs, in general, the UX and UI of a lot of social platforms and platforms where we spend like a lot of time on, even games and so on, I realized that there is a potential from design and sustainability perspective to actually upgrade these spaces and enable giving people tools and agency to make the most of their time online. I mean, I have about 8 to 9 hours of screen time every day. There is 4 billion people using social media every day. So we're spending a lot of time online. So how can we optimize these spaces? So I would just go around to different architects and just put my hand through my laptop, be like, how can I enter the cyberspace? So that was for me, the first steps of kind of this arriving to this concept of metaverse. But I think it's undefined. There can be many definitions. We are still to see because there's lots of hype, very little actually published metaverses and experiences. So it comes with time, but yeah, hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. Thanks a lot once again. And now we're moving to our next presenter. We actually have 2 representatives from Blue Room Innovation. We have Denisa and Xavi. Xavi Tares, please, I will invite you to speak up and also give you a presentation. Xavi Tares from CTO from Blue Room Innovation, please.
Okay. You see my slides? Okay. The first time I read about colored tokens was about 4 or 5 years ago, and now non-fungible tokens are in the hype. So I read that in Via Brother reports that the non-fungible tokens marketplace volume is more than 2 billion of the first 6 months of this year. So ownership of a non-fungible token is probably unique, which is why investors and collectors are excited of this new digital format. Under the hood, non-fungible tokens are smart contracts in a distributed ledger, as Richard explained, which is unique identifier. Creators with non-fungible token, we have the owner address, the creator address, and the artwork linked and the metadata linked that relies on an off-chain storage. Most blockchains, such Ethereum, are pseudonymous. Accounts on the blockchain do not reveal any information about the identity that controls them anymore. Anyone, me, you, could take a screenshot from an artwork and create a non-fungible token. There is no a real way for a potential buyer to verify the origin and the legitimacy of a non-fungible token creator. And then buyers need a way to verify where a non-fungible token is legitimate. the lack of verifications also leads in intellectual property and copyright infringements. Anyone could take an image, reproduce it. So without such verification, an entity and a non-fungible token, it only proves the ownership and nothing more. So, oh, sorry. So non-fungible tokens have a great potential, but we need an important limiting. We have an important shortcoming and limiting. That is the lack of a verifiable identity layer. The lack of this verifiable identity not only limits the use of non-fungible tokens, and it opens the gates for fraud and scams. So our solution that we have developed, in sense, is linking the artwork with his identity. What is this artwork identity and how we can do it? In our extension, we use the self-sovereign identity model. So each artwork has his own identity under the control of the artist. So and inside the non-fungible token, we have a reference with this centralized identifier that we could show here. This identifier, it's resolved in a DIT document. When we have this document, we have information and a description about the artwork itself, and we include cryptographic material in order to authenticate itself and prove that the artist have an association with his artwork. So we create an environment where an artwork is verifiable. And moreover, in our model, the artist is in the control of the artwork, so with his identities. When a person or an object have an digital identity with its self-sovereign identity model, any other identity could interact with this identity. So, for example, in our solution, an exhibition could create credentials about this artwork. So we can verify this artwork has been exposed in this exhibition. And we also could track different, not only views, we could track any other kind of new interactions. We could track likes, we could add shares, we could add a new kind of interactions and link it with this identity. Then the author could collect all these credentials that have received during the life of this artwork and create a public credential that can anyone could view the history of this artwork. This is extremely potential. Now our technology that we are using, we have a browser wallet that is connected with MetaMask that most creators of tokens knows. We are connected with Ethereum that with this MetaMask you could create this non-fungible token. But first of all, you have to create your identity. So we have a connection with Polkadot, where is the chain that we store the identity of this artwork. And once you have created the identity, you can create and link the non-fungible token with this identity. We also have a backend when collect the public credentials that received from the author and then make visible for all of the people that could ask us for publicly and with a link with all history and all the interaction that has collect this artwork. We have a web page, senseartnonfungibletokens.com, where you could try our solution. And we have an adopter that is the Hard Disk Museum. Hard Disk Museum is a digital art gallery founded by Suleiman Lopez that there are more than 120 established artists. So these artists could create non-fungible tokens with our solutions and then certify the Hard Disk Museum could certify that this artwork has been exposed in the Hard Disk Museum. We think that this token, this non-fungible token, gives value from this exhibition. This is a clear example of how, with the adoption of our standard and our work gains value, and also the artist. Thanks all. We are Blue Room Innovation. I'm Xavi Darres.
Thank you, Xavi. Thanks a lot. We're running out of time, but very quick question from the audience. If NFT actually proves the ownership, but not owning the copyright of the artwork, why would people buy this NFT still?
Okay, using our solution, you knows the identity of the person who has created this artwork. So you can at least you have who is the person who implement the copyright. No? And you can then distinguish the different NFTs, one that is legitimate created from the others that has not been legitimate created.
Okay, thank you, Xavi. Thanks a lot for your presentation. The next on the virtual stage is Ignas Togas. We welcome Ignas. He's spent 3 years at Han Bitcoin Exchange at South Korea, and he's also a DeFi yield farmer. I guess Ignas will tell about that more than himself. Ignas, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ignas, currently working at Han Bitcoin Exchange in Korea. It's a centralized exchange, and right now regulation is becoming strict for centralized exchanges, so I turned to DeFi and NFTs. It's a real wild west of crypto, and I love it. So that's I'm researching DeFi, I'm using it daily, and this is like all my bread and food right now. So in my presentation, I'm just gonna show how to earn money. And just a short disclaimer, first, to earn money with NFTs, you have to have an NFT that people want to have, like to use it. So I'll share the screen and show like maybe like steps, how it works. Let me know if the screen's working. Okay, so let me tell you that Pleaser DAO, one of the DAOs, that decentralized organizations, recently used NFT as a collateral for 3.5 million loan. So normally NFTs, what's the issue? NFTs normally you can use it for what? Like this NFT, for example. It's beautiful. Second reason, you belong to the community. And third reason, part as investment. And right now I'm gonna focus on the investment part. So NFTs normally can be quite expensive, and they are expensive, like CryptoPunks. And when you have it in your wallet, what can you do more? You can show off to your friends, like come to your, like, I don't know, some party, say, look, I have a CryptoPunk, it's worth $1 million. But investors want something more out of it. So for example, Pleaser DAO, they bought NFTs worth of 8 million in total. So 8 NFTs they bought for $8 million. And they used those NFTs as a collateral to borrow 3.5 million in dollars. And then later you can do something with that money. But the problem with that is that you might not be able to get a loan. So first of all, you have to have a good NFT to, that someone wants to take. So there are some different solutions, for example, the NFTFi, where if you have an NFT, you can use it to borrow. So you can use your NFT as collateral. And that NFT, if someone wants to borrow, you can earn interest on your NFT. Or you can get attractive returns. So for example, I have Ethereum or I have dollars. So I can offer my money for someone who has NFT. So in this example, for example, like X Infinity. So this person right now who holds this token, he just put into this NFTFi ecosystem website, like application, I could say. So for example, if I have some Ethereum and this person right now, he wants to borrow Ethereum from me. So I will not give that Ethereum for free. So I will, for example, like borrow him lend him one ETH for 7 days duration, or I can choose like 30 days, and I can choose 30% API. So after this 30 days, I will have 1.02 Ethereum. So right now, we can make something out of these NFTs. So someone wants to borrow and someone wants to lend. The only problem with this solution is that this person right now put this NFT into this ecosystem, and he's waiting for someone that can offer Ethereum. And I don't think it's the most optimum solution. So there's this new concept. It's called fractionalized NFTs. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. And fractionalization actually takes that non-part out, and you start having fungible tokens again. So like Ethereum, Bitcoins are fungible because every token is the same. So DeFi, what it's doing, they making these non-fungible tokens fungible again, and you have these tokens that are identical one to another. So why do we need that? Because normally in real art, if I have Mona Lisa and I cut Mona Lisa into pieces, I don't know, that Mona Lisa probably gonna go down in value. But the cool feature of blockchain NFTs is that you can divide those NFTs and piece back together. If I piece back together Mona Lisa that was teared apart, it will not be as valuable. But with NFTs, those non-fungible tokens can be put into one piece or 1,000 pieces, thanks to technology of blockchain. So why do we actually need it? So there are at least 4 major reasons why we need NFTs to be fungible. First of all, if I have an NFT like CryptoPunk, it might be difficult to sell it on the market, but I could, if I make NFT fungible, I can create liquidity markets on this. Like these markets like Uniswap, I don't know if you have tried or audience has tried. So you can make these NFTs put into order books. You can list it on centralized exchanges. You can list on decentralized exchanges. Basically, you make them liquid. Then making asset more liquid, you have you can establish a price a lot easier. And then when you have a NFT that is fractionalized and one token is similar to another, we have better collateral usage. So I will show you how it works in a second. And then at the end of the day, if it's NFT, 1 million NFT from CryptoPunk costs $1 million, so I cannot afford it. But if it's fractionalized into 1 million pieces, it's only $1, so I can buy it now. So there are 2 solutions how you can actually do it. So one is NFTX. So in NFTX, you can buy and sell NFTs, or you can buy fractionalized NFTs. So for example, we have CryptoPunk. Probably everyone knows CryptoPunk. They are the biggest. So right now, people, community, these CryptoPunk holders, they deposited these NFTs into this website. And when you deposit to this website, it's already established a price because they are fractionalized. So right now, one CryptoPunk on average, you can see that all these all NFTs are actually different, but their price is 105.57 Ethereum. It's about $400,000 right now. So if I had one of those NFTs, I could deposit into the wallet. And why would I do that? So if well, I don't have any NFT, unfortunately, but if I had, and I could deposit my NFT into the wallet, this CryptoPunk, I would be able to get 151% yield on my CryptoPunk. So instead of just showing to my friends that, oh, how cool I am, now I can actually earn yield on those NFTs. And to show that this is a very used product, right now they're at least $40 million out of 102 NFTs, CryptoPunk. And average price is about $400,000. So this is the price in Ethereum. And then as a user, I can go buy this NFT. So this is one of the decentralized exchanges. And instead of having to pay like $400,000, I can buy this NFT with $100 or like $1,000. So pretty cool application. One more cool feature of these NFTs is because right now the same CryptoPunk is just different logo. Right now I can use it as collateral. So if I have those CryptoPunk tokens, like $1,000, $10,000, I just deposit this to this website. It's called Rari.capital. Actually, this protocol was built by teenagers. So if I have some CryptoPunks right now, there's no yield for this because no one is borrowing it, but imagine someone borrows. So I can deposit this punk token and could potentially earn yield on my borrowing, but I can also use it as collateral to borrow different tokens. So if I borrow like NFTX token, I would have to pay 2.86% yield. Unfortunately, right now, this market is quite young, so there's no yield. The possibility that I deposit my Punk token, borrow like DAI, which is a stable coin, and then I could go buy a car, and then I earn maybe salary, and I pay back this loan and take by NFT. What's another? Sorry? I don't have much time. Okay, so just to finalize on that, so you can also there's a different, like just to finish the presentation, there's another way to how to fractionalize these NFTs. So there's Dodge NFT. Everyone knows this meme. And the protocol called Fractional Art recently fractionalized this NFT. So the same Pleaser DAO, they bought this NFT for $4 million, if I'm not mistaken. They recently bought this NFT for $4 million. Yes. And they fractionalized into 17 billion pieces, this picture. And they are sold on the market. And people love it so much and use it so much that $4 investment a few months ago right now is worth $252 million. So it shows that demand for fractionalization is there because it helps to create a community, makes the market liquid, and can establish the market price faster and more efficiently. So I guess that's it from me.
Thanks. Thank you, Ignas. It was a really nice angle into our discussion about fractionalizing and also using NFTs as a collateral. And I also love the discussion that is going on in the YouTube stream. There are quite a few questions, but a lot of them are super technical. I just don't want to get into the woods and details, nitty-gritty details of NFTs and so on. And again, we're running out of time, so thanks a lot, and we will move to the next speaker, last but not least. And I'm super excited to hear from Julien Bringer. He's a CEO of Kitties Tech and also CTO at HODL. And why I'm excited is also because this is quite unusual area of application for NFTs. And spoiler alert, it's not art, it's not collectibles. I know, Julien, you have a lot of interesting things to say. Please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vitatas, and hello, everyone. Now, indeed, let me surprise you. I'm not going to talk about artworks. I'm not going to talk about metaverse, neither Mikas or games, but I'm going to talk about energy market and in particular gas market. So why the hell we are talking about this market? You will ask probably. Specific angle on the gas market. LNG is for liquefied natural gas, and today the gas market, and well, it could apply to the energy market as well, but in particular the gas market and LNG, it's kind of an heavy market, all by specific players, exporting countries, producers, importing countries, depending of the amount of gas needed for fueling the industry, fueling the end user consumption as well. It's kind of slow to move to new technologies, but still with the evolution of the, let's say, the attention of the end users, also regulators, there is a willingness to move toward gas market, which is more social friendly, more environmental friendly, for something which is like for other part of the energy market, something going through toward greener energy. So there are some willingness to move on that side, and we strongly believe that NFT can help a lot in that area with this trend. So let me tell you a bit more about that. So gas is fungible by nature. So why we are talking about NFT? Gas is fungible by nature, but a specific volume of gas coming from a specific source of a specific producer, going through a specific supply chain with specific characteristic thermal units. The amount of energy really carried by this volume of gas, depending whether it has been transfers through pipelines or through a cargo, has a specific impact on the whole supply chain. The amount of gas emission, of GHG emission, carbon footprint, also through the supply chain. Liquefied natural gas has to go through different series of liquefaction, regasification, and it has an impact on the overall characteristic of this volume of gas and the amount of, let's say, impact on environment and also on social impact, depending on which country he went through. So this specific volume is non-fungible and it's unique. So what we are doing since now 2 years is basically we design what is named digital twins in the industry very often. Digital twins that represent a certain physical asset, which is here a volume of gas. And what we are doing is, and what we have designed is a digital assets that, a series of digital assets that is based on NFT standards, which is unique, as I explained, and with attributes that are ever evolving depending of the life cycle of this volume of gas. And since the very beginning, what we have done as well is to enable those NFTs to be fractionalized, in particular for fractionalized ownership among different stakeholders. Let me give you a few examples very quickly, and without entering too much into the technical details of the LNG or gas market. If I'm talking about NFT for LNG, very often LNG is shipped through big cargoes. When I say big cargoes, we are talking about something which is very often more than 100,000 cubic meter. So those NFTs are also very expensive, but for different reasons, because there are a lot of gas, the volume of gas is huge. So an NFT captures all information of given LNG volume, which is associated with the cargo. It has specific attributes. And what we want, in addition to tracking the specific, let's say, gas attributes, we want also to track non-material value, which are basically the amount of GHG emissions, so greenhouse gas emissions, the amount of the carbon footprint, whether this specific transaction for exporting and importing somewhere else, the gas had a social impact on the exporting countries, which are not always, but in general, countries that are from the developing part of the world. And at the end, it's meant to incentivize sustainable energy. If I take another example, biogas, you may have heard about biogas, which is to reuse waste from agricultural area and to produce gas from this. From those wastes. So basically, with this, we are able to capture within an NFT a given biogas volume, a source of origin, which is important to be able to kind of attest that it's coming from something which is already kind of sustainable by nature and with specific attributes, and we track it along the supply chain. And again, by capturing along the supply chain the amount of GHG emissions, the CO2, the carbon footprint, the action which are related to reduction or compensation of those emissions. The idea is also to incentivize sustainability, and at the end, it creates both a way to transact and to transfer those assets and those NFTs, so a certain volume of gas, but also to incentivize the actors by having a way to award those compensating, offsetting those volume of gas, volume of emissions. So at the end, main benefits, which are kind of the same as NFTs used for what we can hear more often about on arts, game, etc. It's first of all, it's a trusted chain of records, a data register. It creates transparency, and in our case, it's a way also to enable someone to audit more easily what happened during the supply chain, so the life cycle of the of a volume of gas. It allows to have natively transactions in order to change or fractionalizing ownership. This way, we're able to create a marketplace, which we call a premium marketplace for sustainable NFT-based gas asset. And at the end, the impact is really to be able to record sustainable action and to incentivize those sustainable actions by creating transparency, but also by motivating through award mechanisms the different players along the supply chain. So again, offsetting GHG emission, compensation on the social impact. So kind of unusual indeed application, although I think it's very interesting example of application of the concept of NFT to capture uniqueness of some assets on some physical goods, to bring here more sustainable sustainability within this market. And by the way, I'll finish with a personal note. We are always looking for early adopters and funding as well to consolidate our solution and the growth. Saying that, it's definitely not something which is as trendy as when we talk about NFTs and piece of art with NFTs, but still we strongly believe that this is something which is going to change a lot the way the market is behaving today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Julien. Thank you. That was the last presentation, last slides for today. And now I'm super happy to move on to the discussion part. We have about 20 minutes, maybe a bit less. Quite a few questions to discuss, both from the audience and from me. Let me take a few steps back and remind when some years ago, some entrepreneurial people, they have been selling pieces of moon, or you could actually buy a piece of land on moon. Maybe you can still do that today, pay a certain amount and put a nice certificate on your wall saying that you own a plot of land on this particular place on the moon with these coordinates, etc., and so on and so forth. For that, you probably didn't need any fancy NFTs or any other blockchain-based solution. Just get a certificate via internet, print it out, and well, it still proves your ownership. My question is, why do we need NFTs, and what are their main benefits? I will ask Richard to start answering this question. Richard, your take on this.
So I think what you're seeing here is a digitization of something that we already have. Provenance is really quite difficult in some of these use cases. How do you know the digital representation is what you're actually owning? And that's where having a certificate that's now in a digital form that can also be sliced up and traded and moved very easily provides an offer or an opportunity to solve a problem that many markets, certainly in these types of non-fungible collectibles and other type markets, to prove and solve for. So I think it's a very early days of a new way of holding digital assets. Okay,
thank you, Richard. And related to that, related to the benefits of NFTs, there was something that kind of struck a chord in Evelyn's presentation about the challenges. You mentioned utility, trust, transparency, value of NFTs, and sustainability to a certain extent, even though it was not the focus of your presentation. Evelyn, could you talk a bit more about the actual challenges of NFTs and drawbacks and why we should be talking about them?
Yeah, I think that we have to think about NFTs long term. We have to think about the impact of tech in our everyday life long term. So I feel like there is a lot of hype, but I'm all about trying to create purpose and meaningfulness in, our online interactions. So I feel like NFTs are a great tool. It really sort of, as you have seen from all these presentations, that there is so much potential and opportunities, but how do we actually going to make it work for everybody? How can we use NFTs to make, say, fashion supply chain more sustainable? How can we use NFTs to make the, our industrial real life environment more sustainable? How can we ensure that everybody can participate into this new shift, that we don't again repeat the same sort of issues and mistakes, just being short-sighted and just trying to tackle FOMO and buy an NFT and not really understand it and just go with the flow and so on. So I think that the challenge is I see that, for example, governmental organizations will eventually adapt blockchain and cryptocurrency. I do think that it is a great tool to involve everybody into sort of participating and becoming independent and sort of owning their time and data and privacy and assets and so on, and everyone will become a micro entrepreneur, in my opinion. But how and when that's going to happen is the question, that if this is going to be a big flop, or if it's actually going to make our life better collectively. So I am all about thinking sort of bigger and long term. And as you all know, there's a lot of NFT projects or games and so on that have had one mission to take this to the masses, but yet we're waiting. Not everybody have an NFT, and how can you make 500,000 Gen Zers actually have a MetaMask wallet? So why would they have it, and so on? So there's a lot happening in the world, and I think that tech could definitely be the solution, but we are unfortunately maybe a bit too stuck with something that is presented to us in a certain way, and we don't necessarily have so much testing happening, which I'd love to see. So I think that testing is required, lots of hype happening, but once the metaverses actually start opening up and you have like proper use cases, and right now the use cases that people are really proud of is, oh my God, this NFT is like $69 billion, which is great. And actually Metaverse Fund is sitting in my advisory board, but we need to think sort of bigger and just in a mutually beneficial, prosperous way. And I think that that is the challenge, to really sort of think big and be inclusive, and instead of hyping about just the value of something for one person, I think it's very important to think about how can we, what's going to happen when governments are going to adapt cryptocurrency and blockchain. How is that going to affect a lot of things? So I think that we shouldn't be proud of selling out something in 50 seconds for a lot of money, which is great. Congratulations. But then, what do you do with those assets, and what happens then? So that's, I'm curious to see how that's going to shape.
Thank you, Evelyn. Denisa, you wanted to add something to the discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to add the following related to what Evelyn is saying, and as well as Richard. Well, probably if you think about this situation right now, so we are creating more and new technologies for the digital art. But when you think, who is interested in the digital art? So we are targeting a certain target of people, and not everyone with this. But at the end, we are making a test bed here. So we have found a small world here of people who are interested in digital art, and the one problem of digital art is more or less solved. We have better solutions to add on. We see about authenticity, ownership, and so on. But what we all see that we are creating technologies which are very useful for so many other assets, being it digital in the first run, but as well connected to the physical. Of course, it's a huge challenge, but we already see in only a small example, on Julian example. And I think if these tests, as you say, Evelyn, start to happen connected to assets which people really appreciate and need in their daily life, A, B, businesses need and appreciate in their business activities, well, then we will start to appreciate more the possibilities of NFT. I think for many people, digital art might be something they're not necessarily interested in. And that's why maybe they don't understand the potential of the technology, which can be used for many, many other assets. That's all.
Okay, thanks a lot. I will come back to other uses. We'll come back on the point that you raised, that it can be used just in more areas beyond art. But before I go to that question, let me ask, we mentioned crazy valuations, some popularity that is not from yesterday, but from several years ago, but it's just booming and booming and booming. And 2021 is crazier than any years before, and it's probably just going to go up. And NFTs became a really, really hot topic, and that is one of the reasons why we are all discussing it today. Why do you think NFTs became so hot? Ignas, please, can you share your thoughts?
So I joined NFT, this mania, myself personally. At one moment, I was holding maybe 60 NFTs. Right now, around 40, I think. And it's always those three things I think that collectors love. So first of all, it's because just the picture is great. Like you see it, and it's just something pleasing to your eye. I had like some cool cats. I have Damenhurst, one like NFT. Actually had two, now I have one. Then because it looks great, so I like to have it in my wallet. Secondly, is the community. The moment you get the NFT, you're curious what other people are thinking about it. So you go to join the Discord channel, and you see so many people like who just share their NFTs. They share the price goes up, price goes down, but they check their differences, like NFTs, how they different one from each other. You start to notice these small differences, one NFT from another one. And third, obviously, is investment opportunities. And working in crypto industry myself, I talk with many insiders. So there's a big part of market making in NFTs. Many projects who launch these and tokens, like 10,000 NFT tokens, they first have some people who end up buying, like maybe from themselves. They raise some funds from selling those NFTs, and then use part of those funds to buy back those NFTs from the market. It's like market making. So there's some darker side, there is some beautiful side, but these NFTs give you opportunity to enjoy art without actually needing to have a place to store art. Before, if I had to have like painting, I right now I'm living in a rented flat in South Korea. I'm from Lithuania. I want to get a nice painting. What? I'm gonna carry it with all the time with myself. I can't fit all the stuff I have. Fits in my luggage. I don't want to have anything material. I want to have everything digital, because this gives me the portability. It gives me that sense of community. And actually, I can show my NFT to thousands of maybe millions to people. But if I had Mona Lisa here in the back, maybe like we could see, but most people will not be able to see. And now NFTs are visible on OpenSea. So many people around. So I think many these elements once another click into one big picture. And yeah, so I'm in, and I don't see a way out right now for myself. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ignas. Evelyn, please add to what Ignas said.
Yeah, that was so super cool. And I love that you said that, I have a rented flat. I live in South Korea. And I think it's, a spatial internet is so exciting because you can have your own, digital spatial house in Digital Village, and you can hold all your assets there. You don't have to have it in physical form, which I love where we're going from sustainability perspective as well. That's all.
Okay. Xavi, you also have something to say on this point. Please go ahead.
Yes, maybe it's also related, no? So in the non-fungible tokens, also in the games that now has appeared and has another boom, no? Where the non-fungible tokens have a real utility in the game or in metaverse in this case, no? Maybe I think that we are learning this how to give utility with the non-fungible tokens in art, no? There are appearing or there will appear. I read about new standards that are working about the copyright and the license. When I own a non-fungible token, then can I distribute it? Can I reuse it? Can I can I reproduce or can I create derivative works from this artwork if I am the owner? So I think that we will see how we are evolving these standards or these token non-fungibles in the art with the lessons that we are seeing from the games, for example.
Thank you, Xavi. And I want to come back to the thought, or actually to talk about more, speaking about what Denisa said before about that the use of NFTs is broad and it has a lot of potential, even beyond art and beyond collectibles. So I want to hear from Julian and come to a bit more boring, maybe the corporate world and beyond the first adopters, beyond the hype and the people that really know the world and are super excited about the possibilities. What are the potential use cases and potential value that can be extracted, if I put it in this way, from the NFTs in a traditional like corporate environment? How they can be of use beyond gaming, beyond art, beyond collectibles? Julian.
Yeah. So let me first start with some historical background. Blockchain, token, and cryptocurrencies. I mean, in terms of financial value, how to do a transaction, it's kind of easy to explain now that it's trend since a couple of years. But if you would have to explain the insights of how blockchain works, well, depending on the kind of counterparty that you have, it will be difficult. The same for smart contracts. Have you ever tried to explain smart contract to a business guy on the corporate world? It's difficult to explain what could be the potential of smart contract. What I like with NFT is that then it's something which start to be known by also non-technical user, and then thanks to that, it starts to be easier to explain potential value of NFT outside what we see in the press. Well, it's at the end, it's an application of a smart contracts or something related to smart contracts within on a blockchain infrastructure. So it's like in the past, TCP/IP, who knows how to explain TCP/IP, and now you have World Wide Web since several decades, and you build application on top of that, and you are able to discuss with guys which are not non-technical what is a web page on or well, an internet web page. NFTs as digital asset at the end. Well, I presented one example, but there are some other examples, like, for instance, to manage IP rights, IP ownership. It's really something which is also powerful in that case, because it helps to to trace who is the owner of a specific IP, to record the IP in advance within a blockchain, and to prove the ownership afterward when you want to make your IP public. And it's also a way to share, to lend an IP to other parties. So it's also a powerful application. And you start to see in the corporate world more and more understanding of what NFTs, but at the end, what a unique digital representation of an asset is, and how it can be, how the existing blockchain infrastructure can be leveraged to implement those concepts, for instance, of digital twins that we discuss a lot within what is called Industry 4.0 in general. It's a way to really represent the characteristic of an object, could be around IoT topics, could be around manufacturing and supply chain, and it's really something that start to get traction in the industry.
Thank you, Julian. If anybody wants to add, please go ahead. Otherwise, I will move to my next question. Even more exciting one. And actually, before we move to the next question, I still want to encourage the people that are watching this live, maybe even a past live. There's a link in the comments section of the webcast, and please answer the survey if you have not done so. We want to learn more about you and what the organizations that you represent. So just a quick reminder. And now the next question, which is even more boring, but still I need to ask about that, because that's one of the important questions to have in mind when we talk about these novel technologies is actually regulation and connection to the legal world and all its implications, because we're talking money, we're talking value, even if it's virtual. But there's appreciation, there's a speculative aspect, there's a consumer protection aspect to it as well, and GDPR and whatnot. So what are the main challenges of NFTs from the regulatory standpoint? That's the first part of the question. And the second one is, what could be the best ways to regulate, the best ways to solve those regulatory challenges, and what would be your recommendations? What should be done? Ignace, please go first.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously, very tough question, and to myself personal, because I'm working at centralized exchange. Regulation came, the business opportunities somehow decreased, new doors open. So the same thing is going to happen to NFTs. And someone asked in the comments if these NFTs, like fractionalized NFTs, and that NFTs that earn yield interest, do they pass the Howey test? And probably obvious answer, well, I think the answer is that they do not pass, because Howey test shows, like, if there's expectation of making a profit from that asset or revenue from it. So this is the case, obvious that you are making profit. And there was recently a case, I forgot which, I think the Toad or some frog protocol was delisted from OpenSea, because they promised to the holders of that NFT a future revenue stream. So you hold the NFT, and the part of the trading fees would be able to come back to the holder in some way or another. Some other NFTs projects are experimenting in having staking mechanisms. So for example, you stake your NFT and you can get a token in reward. So one of the masks, some masks with protocol, they created tokens, but that token is only used to change the name of your NFT. So maybe they will not pass the test, or maybe it will pass. So the project will be playing a very thin line, where if you create a token that the holders of the NFT get, so do people expect to use it for speculatory goals or not? So how to regulate it is another even more difficult question, because right now regulators are struggling to regulate DeFi, because all these like DeFi is on blockchain, and NFTs themselves are also on blockchain. So where do you even start? Do you start to whitelist wallets? Do you start to block the gateways? So for example, OpenSea. Should OpenSea be verifiable? So it means like every user, like artist who wants to list NFT, should she or she pass KYC requirements, know your customer requirements before submitting NFTs? So we start to cracking down, but potentially, again, limiting the use cases of NFTs. But I think regulators will come, and maybe this FOMO mania could end up in, I don't know. I'm still I'm thinking every day how it's gonna happen, but I think at this moment, yeah, we are playing in gray area. Yeah, that's it for me for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Our discussion is going towards the end. We still have a lot of things to discuss, but I actually want to give floor to each and every participant as a sort of a rounding up to talk about the future. Where do you think the future of NFTs lies, and also any other closing thoughts that that you might have? And I will ask Richard to start with this one. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think probably the obvious conclusion I would draw from listening to all of the wonderful comments we've had today is that the conversation is now lifted away from technology. Just as we don't talk about GPS anymore, very small percentage of this audience actually know how GPS works. They don't care either. They know that it shows them on Google Maps where they are on the planet. The same is true of TCP/IP. As soon as we learn how to buy a book over the web browser, nobody cared how TCP or IP works. A very small percentage of the things. It's the same with blockchain. 5 years ago, people were very interested in how blocks connected to other blocks to make a blockchain. Actually, no, they're not anymore, because they worked out they can buy digital assets over the network, and they can do that from within their browser today. And the convergence that we're now seeing of gaming, financial services, and fashion and art is an exciting time to be part of.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for your thoughts. Denisa, what do you think, where does the future lies for NFTs, NFT-based applications, and also any other closing remarks from your side?
Well, as Richard said, it's really a really exciting time. We are just looking everyone on these possibilities now with the technology we are developing. It's like all of a sudden so many things are possible. Of course, we are facing also a very traditional way of doing things on the market still. You mentioned legal issues. Where NFT and copyrights all of a sudden are not the best friends, and you think, okay, why not? Actually, if there is opportunity there, the intermediaries functions will disappear. Many of them, no one likes to disappear. So our turbulent changes in which now the biggest challenge is to find the new functioning business models, which will enable all the participating actors, let's say, to redefine their benefits with help of NFTs. Thanks.
Thank you, Denisa. Thank you. Julian, well, again, maybe beyond beyond gaming, etc. Yes, your thoughts and remarks.
Thanks. Well, so I've not talked about LNG for no reason. I strongly believe that NFT in the industry world can help a lot to create more transparency in the supply chain of goods, in particular in the LNG market, but in general also for other kind of goods. And when I say transparency, it's basically where it does come from, how it has been produced, what are the social impact, who has been involved to produce it. I mean, we are discussing always about kids involved in several countries for producing goods, but also about the obviously environmental impact, GHG, CO2, etc., and tracking it along from the producer to the end user, the consumer. It's a perfect application for NFT and on a blockchain based approach. So I really strongly believe on this.
Thank you, Julian. Evelyn, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think we have a a very unique opportunity to really, cliche but true, change the world. I think we have to sort of break free from the siloed one winner type of mindset and really collaborate, as it is really just the most beneficial way forward for the public sector, private sector, for all the people. So yeah, I think if we manage to think collectively and understand the impact of our choices and things that we make beyond that particular business that you are running or the activity that you're doing, I think that's when we can essentially innovate, develop, move forward, make progress. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. That's very inspiring. Ignas, your closing thoughts, please.
Sure. Talk about NFTs, future of NFTs. I remember a talk by Jeff Bezos many years ago. He was talking about electricity. So when the electricity first came, people didn't know what to use. So they only used for like lightning. So they had light bulbs. So people had the electricity at home and there was a light bulb on the top. So then someone invented vacuum cleaner. So to connect that vacuum cleaner, you have to take up the light bulb from the ceiling and you put fridge into the light bulb. So the infrastructure was not there. So people didn't know how it's going to end up. So the same is going to be for NFTs, I think. I don't know where it's going to get, but I just know the way, so that I don't know, it's going to be really, really fun. That's it from me.
Sounds exciting. Thanks. Xavi, your thoughts about the future and anything you want to leave us with?
Sorry, I am going to talk about something that project that we created 3 months ago, more or less, that with Suleiman Lopez, that is an artist from Spain, digital artist, that he's selling oil bottles tokenized into the blockchain. But not only this, he's in partnership with the Biotechnology Institute, and he has put the source code of the non-fungible token inside the ADN of the oil. That's amazing. So we are doing now this thing now, linking the non-fungible object with with the real object. So in some years, incredible. I don't know, a lot of possibilities. So I think that maybe we are going to not say non-fungible tokens, because we could talk about something difficult in each area. So I think that we are going to the specialization is in each sector about this, that is now we are calling non-fungible tokens. So in some years, I will start the conference that today I have talked about the colored tokens. That is the first time that I read about non-fungible tokens, and now we are saying non-fungible tokens, no colored tokens. So in future, we could use another term to talk about the non-fungible token. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Xavi. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. I hope you learn more about the NFTs, what they are, how they work, how they don't work, how they can be used. And thanks a lot for us joining today. And thank you to our dear speakers for the slides, for the presentations, for the discussion, for the energy that you contributed and your knowledge. Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you, Denisa. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Ignas. Thank you, Xavi. And thank you, Richard. Until next time, thank you so much.